Understanding attachment styles, from stage 5 clingers to super ghosters. So there are 4 attachment styles. The first is secure. Secure people feel comfortable with intimacy and are usually warm and loving. 50% of all people that you meet have a secure attachment style. And hopefully you have taken the attachment style yourself and have learned what type your attachment style is. That can be changed if you find that you have an attachment style that is on the insecure side. Totally can be changed, especially through the process of mega dating. That I think is the solution for anxious and avoidant attachment. And it's helpful to learn about even if yours is secure, because 50% chance that you're going to meet somebody or date somebody who has an insecure attachment. So for anxious attachment, these people crave intimacy. They're often preoccupied with their relationships, and they tend to worry about their partner's ability to love them back. 20% of people are anxious. Then we have the avoidants. They equate intimacy with loss of independence and are constantly trying to minimize closeness. 25% of the population are avoidant. The remaining 5% of the population fall into a less common disorganized category. For the purpose of our training, we're going to focus much more on the top 3 because those are the majority of what you're going to see out and about. So where do attachment styles come from? Initially, it was assumed that attachment styles were a product of your upbringing, but it was hypothesized that your current attachment style was a product of the way in which you were cared for as an infant by your primary caregivers. So you were secure if your parents were sensitive, available, and responsive. That means that you should have a secure attachment style. If you're anxious, you maybe got inconsistent responsiveness from your parents, and that would lead you to develop an anxious attachment style. So sometimes your parents were sensitive to your needs, sometimes they were emotionally available, and sometimes they were responsive, but other times they were insensitive, unavailable, or unresponsive. And then if you're avoidant, your parents may have been distant, rigid, and unresponsive. That would lead you to developing an avoidant attachment style. This was the initial way that attachment styles were thought to have come about. Since then, we've come to learn that there are a lot of other ways that attachment style develops, but this is a huge component of it. So present-day attachment theories look at childhood influences. So they know now that many variables come into play to determine a person's attachment style. In childhood, parenting styles is definitely a part of the mix. There are also, if your parents were satisfied in their marriage or if they even were married. I know me, for instance, my parents were never married and they sure didn't like each other. And then my mom remarried and she was totally unsatisfied in her marriage. And so that also taught me about what would later become my attachment style. Positive maternal conditions. Your mother was very responsive to you. She was very emotionally available for you. She was also healthy and had a sound mind. That would lead to a secure attachment style. But if you maybe grew up with a parent who had addiction issues, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, maybe just a single mother, all of these things are going to come into play into your attachment style. Also the child. So if you were easy to deal with, basically, so if you had an easy temperament, that's going to make it easier for your parents to be responsive to you. But if you came out screaming and crying and kicking, and you're just a really difficult child, which, I probably was, I think I know my dad was, that makes it more difficult for your caregivers to be as responsive as you need them to be. So that can also make up part of it. Low depression. If your parents had low levels of depression, then chances are better that you're going to have a secure attachment style. But if you had parents who were depressed, then it's more likely that maybe you didn't get your needs met because they were also unhealthy. And it's very common, nothing weird here, just the way things are. Also social support. So if you had a very tight-knit family who was always coming in and out of the house and they were all around all the time, you might be really securely attached. If you were like me and I moved away from family at a very young age and I didn't have a lot of social support, you may then develop into what I tend to fall into, which is avoidant attachment, or it might be anxious. Fewer hours with a non-parental caretaker can also influence our attachment style. So if you had, if you had uncles and aunts and maybe other people in your community that were also there to support you, watch you, take care of you, you may be more likely to develop a secure attachment style. But if you didn't have those things like myself, then it's more likely that you're going to form an insecure attachment. Other things that come into play. So there are many variables that come into play to determine a person's attachment style. One is genetics. So they have studied adult identical twins, and they are very likely to share the same attachment style, which shows us that genetics do play a role in attachment. Adult fraternal twins are not as likely, even though they share the same environment in childhood. So you could just blame your genetics. Other things, life experiences. So romantic experiences as adults. If your first romantic experience was poor, you may be more likely to develop a barrier, put up a wall, try to avoid close intimacy because now you think that every single romantic relationship is going to cause pain or loss. This may also happen if you have been through a divorce. There's a lot of emotional pain that comes with that experience, and it's very common for people to want to shut down. So this can also be a part of why you have the attachment style you have. And keep in mind, attachment styles are stable, but they can change. 70 to 75% of adults remain in the same attachment category at different points in their lives, but 25 to 30% report a change in attachment style. Woo, that's great news if you're like me and you started out avoidant and then you became secure, because that means that things can be changed. Researchers attribute this change to romantic relationships that are so powerful, they change our fundamental beliefs about connectedness. And guess what else? If you're in this program and you're going through the mega dating process, you're already going to be naturally changing your beliefs. That is what mega dating is all about, is really rocking those fundamental beliefs that maybe set you up for failure because you didn't have the primary caregivers didn't give you the attention you needed, whatever the case is. Mega dating is the solution. So we're going to get there, guys. This change can happen in both directions. So I know that I've been attracted to people in my past, even when I'm in a secure, this happens even in friendships. So I'll just say my experience is, even though I have a secure attachment style now, when I meet somebody, whether it's a friend or in the past, if it had been a romantic partner who had an avoidant attachment style, that could easily pull me back into avoidant or anxious. In fact, very common when I meet someone who's avoidant, if I really care for them and I get connected to them, if they're avoidant, I will become anxious because I'm like being pulled into the dynamic that is being created. So it can change for the better and for the worse. And that's another reason why I want you guys to be really cognizant about these people that you're dating, because you could get really wrapped up into a relationship too soon, stop dating other people, and then you don't even know or realize that this person has maybe an avoidant attachment style, and that throws you into chaos because you start thinking, a lot of times when you date an avoidant attached person, you start thinking, oh my God, there's something wrong with me, because they ghost a lot, or they don't communicate well, or whenever the things get really close, then they pull away. And it's like, what? I thought we were just talking about loving each other and spending forever with each other. And then you just bounce out. So then a lot of times you start thinking it's your fault, especially if you don't have, if they're avoidant, it happens all the time. So this is another really important reason why you want to continue mega dating, so that you don't get pulled into an unhealthy attachment style. So secure people can become less secure, and insecure people can become more secure. So let's talk about secure. Secure people lay all their cards on the table. They tell the truth. If there's something that is not, great information about themselves, they're willing to share that. They're not afraid to, have the difficult conversations. They surface their feelings and they wait to see how other people react. So they're not bad for sharing themselves and for communicating their feelings. They are also willing to give the relationship a chance. They don't pull away. They don't find issues with the person. They're not always the one breaking up with people. They're not always the one distancing themselves. They're not always feeling lonely because they're pushing people away. They're also willing to find a middle ground. And if after trying things don't line up, they don't stick around to fight a losing battle. They know when to call it quits because they're securely attached and they know when things are just not going to change. Finding the right partner the secure way. You want to spot smoking guns very early on and treat them as deal breakers. There's a reason why in your ideal girlfriend profile, we talk about deal breakers and the behavior indicators that let you know that this may be a deal breaker quality. So you really want to pay attention to what the deal breakers are early before you get attached. Because if it's something that's not going to work long term, it's not worth getting too deep in, right? They effectively communicate their needs from day one. They also subscribe to the belief that there are plenty of fish in the sea or many potential partners that could make them happy. Again, mega dating helps you to naturally begin moving into this secure way of thinking. They don't take blame for a date's offensive behavior, or I should say a date's offensive behavior, a friend's offensive behavior, a family member's offensive behavior, a coworker's offensive behavior. They don't take blame for that. And I'm still working on this, even 10 years into this stuff with friendships and the way we attach to people, whether it's romantic in a friend, setting or in the workplace, it shows up. And a lot of times you'll notice that, you might be involving yourself like with an avoidant if you're always taking the blame for their bad treatment of you. And if you're always doing that, it's important to start recognizing it's also a sign of codependency. So we want to make sure that we're not taking the blame for somebody else's bad behavior. Acknowledging that when a person acts hurtfully or insensitively, that it says a lot about the other person and not about themselves. This is really, really important. And they expect to be treated with respect, dignity, and love. So do unto others the way you would have them do unto you, and make sure that they are doing well by you. If they're treating you in a way that you would never treat somebody else, that is not somebody that you want to be aligned with. An example of what an anxious person thinks: they worry that others won't care about me as much as I care about them. My desire to be very close sometimes scares people away. I need a lot of reassurance that I am loved by my partner. I do not often worry about being abandoned. I find that my close relationships don't want to get as close as I would like. I get frustrated if partners are not available when I need them. And an avoidant: I want to get close to others, but I keep pulling back. I am nervous when partners get too close to me. I try to avoid getting too close to others. These top two here, anxious and avoidant, stem from a deep fear of abandonment. So if in your past you felt abandoned in any way, whether it was emotionally abandoned by a primary caregiver, whether it was physically abandoned, because I'll give you my example. My mother moved me away from my father when I was 9. And so I felt very abandoned physically. My family was no longer around me. And so I developed into an avoidantly attached person before the experiment. That can happen. It's usually a fear of abandonment for both the anxious and the avoidant. Insecure, I usually discuss my problems and concerns with my partner. It helps to turn to my romantic partner in times of need. So when I need help, I reach out for help. I turn to my partner for many things, including comfort and reassurance. So I'm willing to communicate as what I see there. I'm openly communicating my wants and needs with my partner. Another thing to kind of a visual for you: anxious, when things get too close, they're going to run. Oh, well, this is what happened for anxious. Anxious people tend to get too close. People label them as clingy, needy, or desperate. Whereas the avoidant is going to run away. Things start going really good. You get really close and then they pull back. They find some problem with the relationship. Oh, I don't like the way, his neck looks. I don't like the way that she chews her gum. Something stupid. There's a reason why they pull away, because they're afraid that intimacy will mean abandonment. An anxious person often starts a fight. An avoidant also usually avoids solution. So they're just going to run away. They're not going to communicate. They're not going to figure out what's going on. Then there's a short-lived reconciliation. So, what this is showing you is very often, if you are anxious, you're going to be attracted to an avoidant and vice versa. So both of these are two sides of the insecure coin. If you're anxious, you're going to look for avoidance and they're going to leave you. If you're avoidant, you're going to be attracted to anxious people and they're going to annoy you. So it's like this, basically it's like a doomed relationship. And that's why it's really important, if you have taken that attachment style quiz and you're falling into one of these two categories, that you start to recognize the patterns and you think back, especially with the ideal girlfriend profile, you think back to all the past relationships that you've been in and you start noticing what's going on. I have probably already burned you guys out with this book, but this is one of the most profound books on attachment that I have found. I recommend it to absolutely everyone on the planet. If you haven't already read it, I would highly encourage you to do so. If you're an auditory learner, they have it on Audible. You can listen to it passively. I still reread it and listen to it and get pissed off because I'm like, oh, dang it, I'm doing avoidant stuff again. But it's very, very helpful. So let's talk about, for avoidance, if you have an avoidant attachment style, how to become secure. So you should acknowledge your need for space, communicating your needs. Learn how to communicate that need. So you're going to explain to your partner that you need time alone, and it isn't a problem with her. It's true of all of your relationships. And so you're going to address issues from the very beginning, from the get-go. You're not going to avoid them. You're not going to try and brush them under the rug because they're always going to come up and bite you in the butt. When you feel the need to bolt, use effective communication to explain that you need space. Anxious, how to become secure. Turn to effective communication when you feel you are turning toward protest behavior, like picking a fight or trying to call repeatedly. The first thing I see here that is basically the same across the board is communication. Both sides of this insecure coin needs to learn how to improve their communication skills. So both of you communicating honestly, laying your cards on the table is what's going to pull you into a secure attachment. You want to also avoid threatening by communicating openly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Stop yourself and figure out what your real needs are after you've thoroughly calmed down. So you might be able to take a note from the avoidant who sometimes says they need space. Maybe you need to go for a walk and let your emotions simmer down. All right. How to become more secure avoidant. Understand that conflict happens in all relationships. Having a disagreement is not proof that you are wrong for one another. Anxious, how to become secure. Recognize when you're picking a fight just to engage her. Go to the gym instead or take a walk first. Well, so the 5 principles of effective communication. Wear your heart on your sleeve. Be genuine and honest about your feelings and be emotionally brave. Guess what? This is really hard. And I'm going to give you a slide on how to do it using nonviolent communication. But sometimes we don't want to do this, or we're afraid that if we do it, then everything's going to go wrong. What I would encourage you to do is you write it out first. So write out a little script, what you want to say, and then reread it to yourself after you've done stream of consciousness writing. And if something seems a little bit offensive, take out all of the you statements, like you're so crazy, you're a jerk, blah, blah, blah. Replace them with I. I feel bad when you do this. I feel bad when this happens. And then, we'll keep talking about it, but write it down is the main thing. You're going to focus on your needs. So express your needs, taking into account your partner's needs as well when expressing them. So using verbs such as I need, I feel, and I want. Focus on what you're trying to accomplish and not on your partner's shortcomings. Be specific. If you speak in general terms, your partner might not understand what you really need, which may lower her chances of getting it right. So state what is bothering you. Don't blame. Never make her feel incompetent, selfish, or inadequate. Find a time when you are calm to discuss things. Be assertive and non-apologetic. Your relationship needs are valid. Whatever they are, they're valid. They are essential for your happiness, and expressing them authentically is crucial to effective communication. Whether your needs are illegitimate for someone else is irrelevant. They are essential for your happiness, and that's what's important. Communicating effectively 101. So let's talk about getting started. Try using a script in the beginning to become more comfortable communicating your wants and needs effectively. I'm going to give you one of those scripts. Avoid communicating when you are upset. Avoid indirect methods for getting your needs met, such as making your partner jealous. Ooh, I used to do that one. Don't do it. Ask your coach, me, to help you compose the right words. When you are sure of the content, recite it to yourself until you're comfortable with the way it sounds. Having it all written down can help you get over the fear of getting it wrong and can make it easier to address your partner with confidence. Here's the script. I just learned this like today, you guys, honestly. That's why I'm excited about this training. So even I can use this. There's all this stuff is going to be helpful, not just in the early stages of your dating, but on through your relationship. So you can return to this training anytime. But nonviolent communication doesn't necessarily mean that you're like being violent with your partner. It's just a way to keep your communication really open, and it helps to bring unhealthy, toxic patterns into the light. You can use this with friends, family, coworkers, anybody. So first thing you're going to do is to make an observation. I noticed you did this. This is going to be a straightforward observation that is unbiased and a neutral retelling of what happened. Then you're going to state your feelings. How did it make you feel? So you're going to stick to the core feelings like hurt, pain, sadness, fear, confusion, or uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable when you don't respond to my text for 3 days. Okay. Then you're going to express your needs. I need to feel safe, heard, respected, seen, like I can trust the people around me. I need for people to show up consistently in my life and to communicate with me. These are all examples. You can use whatever is right for you, but just to give you an idea. So if somebody ghosted you, hey, I noticed you didn't respond to my text message for like 4 days, and it made me feel really sad and confused. I'm just not comfortable when people take 4 days to get back to me. You know, what I need in a relationship is for people to show up consistently in my life and to communicate with me, even if it's just, hey, I'm super slammed right now. Can we talk later? And then you're going to make a request. So if applicable, you're going to make a request. And so it might be, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to show up in a more consistent way in our relationship. This type of communication, it's very unlikely that somebody's going to get really upset with you because you're not pointing fingers and blaming. You're just expressing your needs. And you can practice this. You can write this down. I actually have it written down in my phone, and I'm practicing it all the time too. So very, very useful. You can do it again anywhere, not just in a romantic relationship, but with friends and family. I'm going to use it a lot with family. And if you have an anxious or avoidant attachment style, chances are that came from somewhere like your family. And so you may still have that pattern with them because they maybe also have that pattern. And so that can help you to communicate your needs and also heal those relationships. So another exercise for developing your script, you can answer the following questions. Why do I feel uneasy or insecure or activated or deactivated in this relationship? I'm going to just use mine as an example. So I'm going to use a friend, but I feel uneasy with one of my friends because we used to talk all the time and now she doesn't respond to my messages for a really long time. And that could be the same as what's happening in a dating situation. What specific actions by my partner make me feel this way? Well, when we go to talking nonstop every single day to not talking at all. What specific action by my partner would make me feel more secure and loved? Maybe if they communicated with me why they weren't able to be as responsive, so I understood that it wasn't me. Or if it is me, maybe if they communicated that I did something to offend them so that I could fix that behavior. Which of those actions do I feel more comfortable bringing up and discussing? So yeah, think about that. Create your script using this specific issue and use the 5 principles of effective communication to do so. So let's say we have a situation. She's very busy at work and you hardly get to see her. Ineffective communication would be protest behavior. You might pick a fight and say something like, well, you work all the time. You don't even have time for me. You might call her every couple of hours to make sure you're on her mind. That's protest behavior. Effective communication would be tell her you miss her and that you're having a hard time adjusting to your new work schedule, even though you understand that it's temporary, or her new work schedule. Situation. She talks about her ex-boyfriend, which makes you feel insecure. Ineffective communication, protest behavior. Tell her it's pathetic that she's still talking to her ex, or bring up other girls that you went out with to let her know how bad it feels. That's ineffective. Effective communication. Let her know that conversations about her ex-boyfriend make you feel inadequate and unsure of where you stand, that you need to feel secure in order to feel happy with someone. Situation. She always calls at the last minute to make plans. Ineffective communication would be protest behavior. So you might say, hey, I'm busy whenever she does that, so that eventually she'll learn to call well in advance. Effective communication. Explain that you feel unsettled, not knowing when and if you'll see her, and that it's better for you to at least have a ballpark schedule of when you'll get together ahead of time. Situation. She screens your calls a lot and gets back to you in her own good time. Ineffective communication, protest behavior. Grin and bear it. Effective communication. Convey how important it is to you to return her calls promptly and how good it would feel if she was to do the same. Situation. She hasn't called for a few days. You're worried that she wants to end the relationship. Ineffective communication, protest behavior. When she finally calls, tell her you're busy. That'll show her. Effective communication. Inform her that it is hurtful when she disappears, and one of the things that you need most in a relationship is for your girlfriend to make you a priority whenever possible. That could even be in the dating phase. An anxious attachment trap. One's activated strategies triggers the other's deactivated strategies. So this will be a roller coaster. Nothing is ever even keel. There are extreme highs and extreme lows. You can actually get addicted to that like a drug. Emotional counterbalancing. Avoidants inflate their self-esteem and independence, and anxious people feel less than. Avoidants feel independent and powerful to the extent that their partners feel needy and incapable. Stable instability, uncertainty, chronic dissatisfaction. I heard today, I was talking to a guy who was telling me that there are dating coaches that actually teach men to be uncertain, to make women feel uncertain. And so if you happen to be watching any of these things that these people are putting out that are teaching you, hey, you should be making her feel really uncertain, they're teaching people how to fall into an anxious attachment trap. And it's never going to attract people who are healthy or stable or secure, because it's actually teaching you how to be avoidant. Constantly fighting about minor problems. And the anxious partner gets treated worse the closer they get. You feel too emotionally connected to leave, but you know it's not right. Another part of the trap, intimacy issues can spill over into more and more areas of life, work, family, friendships. I know a lot of people who this happens to. In a fight, avoidants detach and view their partner more negatively. So attachment styles we talked about are stable, but also plastic, which means they can be changed. People become more secure when they're in a relationship with a partner who is secure. And so if I were you, I would probably write on my profile, looking for a partner who is securely attached. Now you're going to start matching with women who also put secure, that keyword, on their profile, and also people who understand attachment style. Security priming can help improve attachment style. Better mental and physical health is enjoyed when you become more secure. Excuse me. Think about secure people around you and consider the way they behave in their relationships. Use them as a role model. You may not have many role models like myself. I did not have very many role models of secure attachment around me, but you're in this program, and the mega dating process will help you to become secure in your attachment style. It is the solution for an insecure attachment. So if you have role models around you, pay attention to how they behave. What do they choose to ignore versus respond to? Pay attention to the way they interact. Pay attention to the things they say. And pay attention to the way they act in different situations, as well as their general outlook on life and relationships. I have seen so many people come in, and even in my personal life, I have friends who do this. Everybody I know who's never found the relationship they wanted to be in, the way they talk about relationships is as though it's impossible. So they don't say, I wish I had a partner to spend my life with. When you say that, you attract it. When you say, oh, relationships are stupid, or yeah, nobody's happy in a relationship, or all marriages end in divorce, or why would I even want to be in a relationship anyway? All of that shows a general outlook on life and relationships that's negative, and you're pushing it all away. So pay attention to how you're talking about relationships. It's good to say, I wish I had a partner to spend my life with, because then you're calling it into reality and you're changing the way that you're able to attract it, rather than pushing it away thinking, oh, well, it's never going to happen for me, or I'm just not, the type to be in a relationship, whatever it is. Really pay attention to how you speak about it. So you can use pets as an inspiration for secure attachment. So we tend to perceive our pets in a securely attached way. We don't harbor resentment when they do something wrong, and we forgive easily and quickly. Often, a pet can be an excellent model for a secure attachment style, and our attitudes towards our pets can be tapped into as a secure resource. We don't assume that our pets are doing something to hurt us. Even if they pee on the couch, I don't assume that my dog did it to piss me off. We also don't tend to hold grudges with our pets. We still greet them warmly even after a rough day at the office. And we stick by them no matter what. We don't just kick them out and say bye because you did something you ate my shoes. This can become your integrated, secure role model. This is what you want to strive for. And all of this is coming from the book Attached, you guys. I didn't come up with that. That's a genius method right there. Reshaping your working models. Step number 1, become aware of your working attachment style. So take inventory. Our current experiences shape our view of our past experiences. So here is a relationship inventory you can use. It is a lot like the ID or the ideal girlfriend spreadsheet or the ideal girlfriend profile. So you might list, if you haven't done this already, I would do that ideal girlfriend profile. And then you can also do this too. So you're going to list the name of your partner. What was the relationship like? Man, it was really up and down. What situation was triggered activation or deactivation of an attachment style when she didn't call me back? What was my reaction, thoughts, or feelings, or even actions that I took? I hate her. And then insecure attachment working systems, protest behavior, deactivation. I didn't respond. How I lose out by succumbing to these working models. I am lonely. Secure role model relevant to the situation and secure principles to adopt. Oh, my friend Jack, right? So I would create an inventory for your relationships, and you can use that ideal girlfriend profile to start, and then just kind of add these in there. Common anxious thoughts, mind reading. That's it. I know she's leaving me. I'll never find anyone else. I knew this was too good to last. All or nothing thinking. I've ruined everything. There's nothing I can do to amend the situation. She can't treat me this way. I'll show her. I knew something would go wrong. Nothing ever works out right for me. I have to talk to or see her right now. She better come crawling back to beg my forgiveness. Otherwise, she can forget about me forever. All or nothing thinking. She is so amazing. Why would she want to be with me anyway? Maybe if I look drop dead gorgeous or act seductive, things will work out. Remembering all the good things she said or did after calming down. Recalling only the bad things your partner has ever done when you're fighting. I see this a lot in my friends. Okay. All or nothing thinking. This is for an avoidant person, avoidant attachment. I knew she wasn't right for me. This proves it. The way she eats her cereal, right? Overgeneralizing. I knew I wasn't made to be in a close relationship. She's taking over my life. I can't take it. Now I have to do everything her way. The price is too high. I need to get out of here. I feel suffocated. If she was the one, this kind of thing wouldn't happen. When I was with whoever this phantom ex is, that's perfect, but isn't really perfect, is only in your mind perfect, this wouldn't have happened. Malicious intent in an avoidant attachment style. She's really out to annoy me. It's so obvious. She just wants to tie me down. This isn't true love. Or they fantasize about other people. I'll be better off on my own. She's so needy. It's pathetic. Common anxious emotions. Sad, resentful, angry, frustrated, fearful, depressed, hopeless, humiliated, despairing, hate-filled, uneasy, unappreciated, jealous, uncertain, hostile, agitated, vengeful, rejected, guilty, unloved, self-loathing. Ooh, gosh, I have had that. Lonely, I've had that. I've had a lot of these. You might find that this happens to you in other relationships too, not just romantic. Restless, misunderstood. And then to combine that with what an avoidant usually has emotions: withdrawn, misunderstood, frustrated, resentful, angry, hostile, pressured, aloof, unappreciated, empty, deceived, despairing, tense, scornful, hate-filled, restless, self-righteous, distrustful, contemptuous. Common anxious actions: acting out behavior. They attempt to reestablish contact at any cost, picking a fight, waiting for them to make the first reconciliation move, threatening to leave, acting hostile, rolling your eyes, looking disdainful, trying to make her feel jealous, acting busy or unapproachable, withdrawn, stop talking to her, turn away from her physically, act manipulatively. Common avoidant actions: acting out, get up and leave, belittle your partner, act hostile, look disdainful, make critical remarks, withdraw mentally or physically, minimize physical contact, keep emotional sharing to a minimum, stop listening to your partner, or ignore her. Insecure attachment principles at play. Anxious, protest behavior, activating strategies, increased desire to connect, putting your partner on a pedestal, feeling small and inferior in comparison, remembering only the best while forgetting her negative side, mistaking an activated attachment system for love, living in the danger zone or living on an emotional roller coaster. Also getting addicted to the highs and lows. So you keep repeating a pattern of super toxic relationships because you're addicted to the feeling of that high that you get on the roller coaster. Avoidant, deactivating strategies, mistaking self-reliance for independence, inflating your own importance and self-esteem while putting your partners down, seeing only the negatives and ignoring the positives, assuming malicious intent, disregarding the other person's emotional cues, yearning for the phantom X, the one who can do no wrong, fantasizing about the one, repressing loving feelings and emotions. So secure principles of attachment: being available emotionally, physically, don't interfere, act encouragingly, communicate effectively, don't play games. So if you're watching any other coaches on YouTube and they're teaching you to play games, that is an insecure attachment style. They are teaching you to be unhealthy. Viewing yourself as responsible for your partner's well-being, wearing your heart on your sleeve, being courageous and honest in your interactions. That means saying the things that are hard to say when you have to say them. That means speaking about your needs when it's inconvenient and uncomfortable. Maintain focus on the problem at hand. Don't make generalizations during conflict. Douse the flame before it becomes a forest fire. Attend to your partner's upsets before they escalate. Go over the attachment inventory with a coach.